Welcome to the Babcock LDP Safeguarding podcast series. These podcasts are designed to run alongside and enhance the information you can obtain from our 1-minute guides. We have 40 1-minute guides at the moment and are currently in the process of updating each and every one. These 1-minute guides and accompanying podcasts are a great way to upskill your staff, refresh your safeguarding knowledge and keep up to date with the latest practice and theories. I'm Lara Stead, Education Safeguarding Officer with the Babcock LDP Safeguarding team, and will today be introducing the topic of peer-on-peer abuse. So let's start at the beginning. What is peer-on-peer abuse? All of us who work with children are aware that at times children can be horrid to each other. When we read Keeping Children Safe in Education, this document recognises that children can abuse other children and that this type of abuse can take many different forms. Peer-on-peer abuse can include, but is not limited to, bullying, and this includes cyberbullying, sexual violence and harassment, physical abuse such as kicking, hitting, shaking, biting, hair pulling, or otherwise causing physical harm, sexting, and the initiation of violence and rituals. Peer-on-peer abuse can also involve exploitation and grooming. In fact, you could ask the question, what doesn't peer-on-peer abuse include? We know children with disabilities and SEN are vulnerable to peer-on-peer abuse. The girls are more likely to be affected than boys, and those on the periphery of social groups, those wanting to belong. Imagine you are a young carer with limited options to socialise or have a diagnosis of autism. It could be for both that their preferred contact with their peers is through social media. It could be easy for them to be groomed online. Children and young people identifying with the LGBT+ communities are also vulnerable to peer-on-peer abuse. So too those from different or minority cultures and communities. Children and young people who have experienced a recent bereavement, parent, sibling or friend, and those who live with domestic violence are vulnerable to this type of abuse, as well as those children who have experienced other forms of interfamilial abuse. It could be that a young person is simply in the wrong place at the wrong time and becomes a victim of peer-on-peer abuse. It is also important to remember that a child or young person can be a victim of this type of abuse regardless of background, upbringing and age. Victims can be attending primary, secondary or college settings. The instigators of peer-on-peer abuse, the perpetrators, can be younger than their victim, and boys and young men are more likely to be the abusers. Perpetrators can be known to the victim, a part of their social circle, a young person that they have been introduced to face-to-face or have met online. Peer-on-peer abuse can happen in a wide range of settings wherever children attend, be that school, a youth club, the park, their local neighbourhood, even online. But it very often goes unseen. The NSPCC announced a 29% increase in children seeking help from Childline due to peer-on-peer sexual abuse in autumn 2018. Peer-on-peer abuse is a complex situation. All involved are victims. Very often the abuser, the perpetrator, is also the victim. Peer-on-peer abuse cannot be solved by just one single agency. It often requires the expertise and time of many professionals working together with both the victim, the abuser, and their families. So, how can we in schools minimise the opportunities for children to abuse each other? We need to be looking at the ethos and culture as well as the staff and pupil awareness of this topic. It is important that all adults in your setting know and are aware of the signs and symptoms of peer-on-peer abuse and take disclosures seriously. It is wrong to dismiss peer-on-peer abuse as children just being children, or simply as banter. Developing a proactive response to this issue is essential. Plan staff safeguarding CPD into your school year. Share the possible signs and symptoms to look out for, but like all forms of abuse, remind them that you are not providing them with an exhaustive list and children may display all or none of the signs discussed. Signs and symptoms to look out for could include absence from or disengagement from school activities, a drop or plateauing in attainment and progress, physical injuries, mental or emotional health issues, and this may include heightened anxiety and self-harm, becoming withdrawn, a lack of self-esteem, lack of sleep, alcohol or substance misuse, a change in behavior, inappropriate behavior for their age, being abusive towards others, going missing, staying out late, a change in peer groups and/or a change in appearance. Also in school, you may want to review the behavior policy. Does it recognise peer-on-peer abuse? Has the voice and wishes of those attending your setting been considered? Have you used historic situations and scenarios to inform your practice? Make sure that the policy is shared with all stakeholders linked with your setting and a child version is made available too. If you're using an online behaviour monitoring or incident recording system in your setting, use this to generate incident analysis. By identifying specific issues in cohorts, you can tailor and aim specific teaching and learning opportunities. For example, you may identify a high proportion of risk-taking activities amongst the girls in Year 8. You might have identified a possible issue with gang membership and boys in Year 10. Or you've noticed that you've had to, as a school, report higher than average incidents with regard to racism, and the perpetrators are in Year 5. This analysis can also support the adaptation of curriculum provided to the different groups identified, as well as the resources and services that can be accessed by your pupils. Consider an adolescent boy who is struggling with his sexuality and wants to talk with somebody. Where is he going to access the names or numbers of organisations that can help? Will he stop with a pen and paper in hand in a busy school corridor to jot the number of an information poster down? Think about where helpful information is situated. How easy is it to access? Does the information in and around your setting need to be gender or non-gender specific? From your analysis of information, could you saturate your setting with information and support for a particular area of peer-on-peer abuse? Check that your curriculum reflects the needs of your children. Think back to the list of ways children can abuse each other. Are you teaching and enabling your children to say no? Are they aware of what consent is and what it means? Do they know what a healthy relationship looks like? Do they know the potential dangers when online and using social media? Are they aware of the dangers of risk-taking? And most importantly, could they spot the signs of peer abuse amongst their friends? All these reviews can and should be considered whatever the age range of the setting. All can be covered at an age-appropriate level effectively. Settings can also promote and develop a culture of openness, providing systems and ways to support pupils to share their worries, being clear about who they can go to, what will happen if they do share a worry. Consider using resources or working towards recognising awards such as the Rights Respecting School Award led by UNICEF UK or the Diana Award for anti-bullying. Take a walk around your school site with pupils, victims and perpetrators, identifying environmental hotspots, areas that are known for antisocial behaviour, that are scary to the Year 7s just starting at secondary school, or are places where bullying has been reported in the past. Share this mapping with governors, staff and pupils to support a shared problem-solving approach. Schools need to be mindful of the factors outside of the school environment that will influence their young people. Contextual safeguarding recognises that the different relationships that young people form in their neighbourhoods, schools and online can feature violence and abuse. Parents and carers have little influence over these contexts, and young people's experiences of extrafamilial abuse can undermine parent-child relationships. The work you have put in place within your setting, considering the curriculum content, sharing the dangers of online grooming, and telling your young people the signs of symptoms to look out for in their peers will give them the necessary knowledge and confidence to say no or avoid unnecessary risk-taking activities that could put them in danger, as well as looking out for their friends. Locality mapping will also support the identification of areas or activities of concern. The use of self-audit tools, eco-maps, genograms, and exploitation toolkits will enable school staff and other professionals working with young people to identify the supportive factors in their lives as well as the negative influences. These supportive factors can be woven into action plans. Take a look at the Contextual Safeguarding Network website for more information and consider completing a Safe for Me assessment for those young people that you have concerns about or who have made a disclosure, whether verbal or through their presentation. Safe for Me assessments are linked to the Adolescent Safety Framework on the Devon Children and Families website. Torbay and Plymouth Safeguarding Hubs also have the exploitation toolkit for settings to use. Remember, if you have a concern about a child or a young person in relation to peer-on-peer abuse, consider whether the child is at significant risk of harm and respond accordingly. And if not sure which route to take, give your Safeguarding Hub's consultation line a call. Future podcasts linked to this series will cover in more detail the specific ways children can abuse each other, for example, sexting, sexual harassment, cyberbullying, and how schools can respond to these different types of incidents, supporting both pupils and their families, as well as developing their practice.